Have you ever been giving a mediumship reading that you were like, oh my God, this is so amazing, so much information is coming through, I can't believe I'm getting all this, only to have nobody say, yeah, I know who that is. Or if you're with a client, your client's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Have you ever had that happen? Well, in today's video, I'm going to talk about why you may have a spirit come through that your client or maybe those you're in a mediumship circle with may not be able to pick up or recognize as being for them. So stay tuned. So when you're in a mediumship circle, it means that you are practicing with other mediums, or maybe you have a few people in the group that are not mediums, but it's about 8 to 10, maybe 12 people at the most, and you as the medium are having a spirit with you and giving a reading. And so I've been in that situation so many times where I've been in a mediumship circle and I've got this spirit with me, this family member, friend with me, and the information is coming through so clearly as if they are standing right here talking to me face to face. And I've given the information and no one in the group can take that information. It doesn't make sense for them, or they don't know who this person is. And it used to always deflate me in the beginning. I used to always be so discouraged, like, oh my gosh, how could I get this information? It was coming through so clearly. I knew everything that was happening. I could see it so clearly, and yet nobody could take it. Or I've given readings where I've been with a client one-on-one and my client could not understand who this spirit was. So there's many reasons that could happen, and no, it's not because you're a bad medium. No, it's not because your mediumship has turned off. There's lots of different reasons that this could be happening, and so I do want to talk about that today. I have had it happen to me where the recipient, my client, or the person in the mediumship circle, they had not met this person that had come through. So for example, I have brought through grandparents, but again, if you've seen my past videos, spirit can appear however they feel most comfortable, however they remember their lives to be best. And so I've had spirits come through in their 30s or 40s, but they're grandparents that maybe passed away in their 80s or 90s. And I've had it come back to me later that the information had all been true, but this person in my circle or my client, they had to go ask somebody else who knew this person because this individual, the spirit that came through passed away before my client or the sitter in my group was even born, so they didn't know anything about them. So of course, if somebody has passed away before you were born, you don't know a whole lot about them. You might know a few things, some initials, a few dates or things like that, but a majority of the information that comes through you might not know. Now there is a reason for that them coming through and they know that you don't know them. One, it's because they want you to know that they've always been with you, they've always been around you, they know about you. But two, it's because they want you to get messages to others in your family or other friends. So when you are in a mediumship reading, if your client or your sitter does not know who it is, what I've done in the past is I've kept going with the reading, and I've said to my client or the person I'm in a group with, I've said, I'm going to keep going a little bit more and get you a little bit more information because maybe it will make sense to you later, or it will make sense to someone else later, someone else in your family or another friend later. So don't cut the reading off immediately because nobody knows who it is. I would continue with it a little bit, get a little bit more information, maybe get a message that wants to come through. That way, if later on this person's like, oh my gosh, I know who that was, or they're talking to a friend or a family member and they're like, oh my gosh, that was from me, you at least have a message and you have some information. I have also had it happen so many times where spirit will take an opportunity to come through. So for example, I have had a reading where a client came and she really wanted to connect to her sister very badly. And I had a sister come through and I'm giving the information. I felt the sister vibe. All of the information was coming through so clearly. And my client was like, that's not my sister. I don't know who that is. That doesn't make sense to me. And so, of course, I felt so defeated. I felt so bad about it. And, of course, we kept continuing with our reading because there were some other spirits here Her sister ended up coming through at the very end, but we were like, who is this sister that we got? That it just doesn't make sense. She only had the one sister. She didn't have two. Her mother didn't adopt or have a miscarriage or have an abortion, so there was no explanation for this sister. Now, I had given her several pieces of information and a message. She ended up reaching back out to me 3 months later, telling me that it was the sister of one of her friends. And so the reason it came up is because she was talking to another friend about having a reading with me and how amazing it went, but that there was a spirit that showed up that it didn't make sense. And her friend is like, that kind of sounds like so-and-so's sister. Did you talk to her? She's like, no, I didn't. So they called, and it ended up being this whole thing. The spirit used the opportunity to get to her sister through my client. So spirit is very intellectual. Everything in the world, the universe is so intelligent. They know that 3 months from now, you're going to run into this person and have this conversation. They know that things are going to connect. So spirit uses opportunities whenever they can, however they can. So if you're giving a reading and your client says, I have no idea who that is, this doesn't make sense. Again, as I said in the previous section of this video, I would keep going a little bit more, get a little bit more information and a message, because you never know when this person is going to click and they'll know who it is, or maybe another person they know will know who it is. So spirit is going to take an opportunity whenever they can. Another one that's really tricky is when you have a client or your mediumship circle and you've got a spirit here with you who is communicating with you and giving you information, but you're not getting a lot. And I remember in the beginning, it used to really bother me. I used to think, oh my gosh, I'm not a good medium. I'm not picking any information up. I feel like I'm pulling to get this information from these spirits. I feel like I'm just having a struggling time trying to get it. And I remember just defeating myself, talking negatively about myself, about my mediumship. And it wasn't until about 6 months ago, I've been doing this for a while, 6 months ago or so, that I'm like, oh my gosh, it clicked for me that the spirits coming through might not be able to communicate with me as a medium as best they could with somebody else. And that's because the spirit has to use what I have available in my mind. And I've used this reference before, and I'll use it again. It's so simple. For example, if the spirit coming through wants to talk about Game of Thrones, I have no idea about anything involving the Game of Thrones. So this communication from this spirit to me is not going to go very well, because I don't know anything about Game of Thrones. And that's the same thing with the spirit. If they're trying to get across something to me like another rock music, I don't know anything about that. If they're trying to get something across to me about farming, I don't know anything about that. Now, if they want to talk about country music, line dancing, sushi, books, crystals, like I'm all about that. I am the medium for them. I am the medium for you. But if you are in a reading where you feel like nothing is coming through, there's no connection, your client's like, I have no idea who that is, take into consideration that it could be, and I'm not saying it's that way all the time, because you are going to get readings where nothing makes sense, okay? You are going to have that happen. That's another video for another time. But also keep in mind that you could have a spirit with you that has information that they want to tell their client, but it's not something available to you that you know that they can easily relate to you. So you might be in that situation where you've got this client, you know the spirit's here, you can feel them here, it's crystal clear as day, but the communication isn't coming through as easily because, again, you might not have in your mind what the spirit is trying to get across. The last thing I want to make clear is that sometimes you are going to get a client, or especially somebody who's in a group setting when you do a mediumship reading, who's too embarrassed to accept this person. They're too embarrassed to say, okay, hey, this is me, or yes, I know who that is. You could also get a client or a person in a group who you have a spirit come through that they don't want to talk to, they don't want to acknowledge. Maybe there was issues between them and this person, and so they're not going to speak up, or your client is going to say, I don't know who that is. I've had it happen a few times actually, and the only reason I know is because I've had the husband or wife or daughter of somebody that had a reading from me contact me back and say, hey, I wanted to let you know this reading you did for my mom, my dad, it was perfect, but they told you no because they were embarrassed, or maybe because this person coming through is somebody that they didn't want to communicate with. So that could also be something. Again, it's not going to be every time. Of course, you're going to have readings where things don't mix, things don't match, things don't work. It happens. I've had to give clients a refund before when the readings just didn't mix and match well. So it's going to happen. Don't let it discourage you, but it could be something that is hindering the reading, where the person is too shy to say, yes, I know who that is, or they're too shy to say, I don't want to talk to them. I don't want anything to do with this person. So keep those things in mind as well. Now, what I like to say to this fact is that when I'm in a reading, I do tell my clients, if there's somebody that comes through that you don't want to hear from, please tell me. Please let me know, and I will cut that off immediately. And especially when you're in a one-on-one setting with your client, it's easier for them to do that. When you're in a group setting, sometimes they're too embarrassed to say that. But always give them the option when you're starting your reading to tell them if somebody comes through that they don't want to talk to, that you will cut the reading off. So what's the moral of the story here? It's not always going to be you. Don't beat yourself up and think there's something wrong with your mediumship. Don't say that your mediumship is bad or it's turned off or there's just something wrong. Granted, again, every reading's not going to work. Every reading is not going to flow. Every reading is not going to be great. There's a multitude of reasons why. I have tons of videos why that is on my YouTube channel here. But just know that you're doing a great job. You are showing up. That's half the battle, is showing up, and you're trying and you want to help your clients. That's the most important part. Keep going. Don't give up. You got this. I hope this video found great value for all of you guys. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.